The GOP is planning on rolling out phase 2 of the tax cut program in hopes to make, well, part of it would be making the cuts to individuals permanent as opposed to temporary. New York Congressman Peter King joins us now. Congressman, I'm sure you would love to see a fix to the state and local tax SALT non-deductibility. But I got to tell you, Kevin Brady told us the other day, ain't going to happen. What say you?
Yeah, I'm sure Kevin Brady feels that way, and Kevin is a good friend. We have a strong disagreement on this, but once they open the door, I'm going to do all I can to fight to get as much of the SALT deduction put back in. I think it's important. I was actually sitting next to the president yesterday at a St. Patrick's Day lunch, and he was talking generally to people about the second round of tax cuts that he wants to implement. I had another issue to discuss with him, so I didn't bring up SALT then. But no, this is something where those of us who do feel strongly about this, especially in high tax areas like Long Island and Westchester, Rockland County,
sure,
we are going to make every effort that we can.
Did he talk about, and I don't mean to impose on a conversation between you and the president, but was there talk of making the individual cuts permanent?
No, and actually, again, the only reference he made was he mentioned several people, we got to get the second round of tax cuts going. There were no specifics discussed whatsoever. And I was actually discussing another matter with him. But no, as far as that, it was just as different people would come by and they say something about the economy, and you say, yeah, and we got to get the second round, the second round of taxes going, tax cuts going.
I know what you want to talk about. You want to talk about that other subject that you were talking with the president about, if I'm not mistaken, and that is the feds funding this tunnel from New Jersey to Manhattan. I think that's what you want to talk about, right, Congressman?
Yeah, but I can only say so much. Let me just say I had a very good conversation with the president. Basically, before the lunch started yesterday, he and I went off to the side. We had, I'd say, a good 5-minute conversation. In fact, the British ambassador said all eyes were looking to wonder what we were talking about. All I can say is the president listened to everything I had to say, how strongly I felt about Gateway and others do, not just New York and New Jersey, but it really affects the entire Eastern Seaboard. And I'll just leave it at that, he listened, he understood where I was coming from, where others are coming from, and I don't want to go any further at this stage.
Okay, we understand, Congressman. I understand it's a privileged conversation between you and the president. It's got to remain private. I got it. Now, what about this right to try legislation? That is where you're on your deathbed, you're in very bad shape in the hospital.
Right.
This bill would have given you the right to try unproven drugs that the FDA has not yet approved. Well, that right to try bill failed. Can we get it back? Because a lot of people really support that.
Yes, and it got an overwhelming majority. Unfortunately, it did not get a 2/3 vote. And because it was brought up under a special procedure where you needed a 2/3 vote for it to pass, a majority is for it. Listen, I hope I'm never in that situation, or no member of my family is. But if you know that you're going to die otherwise, I think you should have the right to make that decision, whether or not you want to try a drug that has not been fully approved. Basically, I hate to put it this way, you have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
That should be your right to make that decision. And it goes, to me, to individual freedom and liberty. And I think you should absolutely have that right. I hope we can find a way to bring it back up. And so all we need is a majority vote to get it passed.
Well, I think liability issues were fixed. I mean, you couldn't sue the doctor, you couldn't sue the drug company because you took an experimental drug just to try to stay alive. I mean, they fixed that was the big problem, wasn't it? The liability problem.
Yeah, and again, to me, that was taken care of, and others just seem to have this feeling that the pharmaceutical companies, I guess, shouldn't be allowed to be putting these drugs out there if they're not approved. But the fact is, the person knows that. I mean, you will know it has not been approved, and you know that you're going to die if you don't try it. So I don't see why you don't have the right to to make that decision for yourself, especially since the approval process can take so long.
Yeah.
I mean, the worst thing would be you're not allowed to take it. And 6 months after you die, the FDA said, this is a lifesaver.
Yeah, I can guarantee, Congressman, that you've got the 100% support of this audience, and me too. Congressman, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. So we'll see you again soon.
And Stuart, as a Brit, let me say happy St. Patrick's Day to you.
But you know, I'm an American citizen these days. You know that, don't you?
I know that. I know.
You're all right, Congressman. Thanks for joining us.
Okay.